and that this might be a season of wandering.
Mm.
Um, and you'll find a path. It might not be the path that you intended on. It might not be a path that you even know exists, but keep wandering. Don't just sit and wait. You have to keep moving and explore and be willing to try and be willing to stumble until you find that path.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Own Your Awkward podcast. I am super excited today to have a friend and a partner here who I'm going to get to know even more because we've just started to get to know each other in the last year. Katie Tuite with Harborbridge Leadership. She's the COO and does an amazing job with a partnership we have going on, which we'll share with you more later. But Katie, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and just have an opportunity to talk with you for an hour too. It's always fun.
Right? Yeah, it's fun when we get to have a specific conversation and end up learning more about each other, going deeper. These conversations, I've had people on that I've known a little bit more in some cases, and some cases that I've never met until we get on the show.
Mhm.
And I'm always surprised, whether I know somebody ahead of time or not, how much more unfolds in the conversation. And you just walk away with a greater sense of appreciation the more we learn about each other. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Katie, we're going to jump right into it. First of all, I know we were talking earlier that it is space heater season and the weather is changing. Just before we get into your awkward, how do you feel about that kind of change? Are you excited? Are you annoyed? Where do you sit on the
Um,
change fence?
I would say I love summer. I'm a summer person.
Hmm.
And this morning was the first time I had to grab a coat to let my dog out.
Okay.
And so it was this moment of, oh no, winter is coming. Like I have to get the coat on at 6 o'clock
Hmm.
in the morning. So to say I'm in brief, I would say I am not excited
Okay.
the season changing, mostly because of the 6 a.m. coat situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And the darkness.
And the darkness, having to get the flashlight out as well.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's such a good point how it's that first time you have to get the coat where we can see stuff coming at us from a
Hmm.
from an aspect of change and yet we don't feel it yet and then there's that one marker where we say, "Oh, yeah, it's here."
Yeah. So that was my morning, was
Okay.
having to go back inside and get a coat and realizing, oh, summer's gone.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
a bit adieu, summer. I will see you when you return.
Yes, in 9 months.
Right. Yeah, I actually I don't know. I'm kind of sick this way. I embrace the change. So I actually like when the season changes, but by the
Mhm.
time we've been in it for a little bit, I'm over it and ready for the next one. So
Completely.
I like this time of year where things are shifting, but then I do miss the longer days and the freedom to not have to plan around, what time the sun is going to go down and, am I going to
Hmm.
get soaking wet when I go out for a walk, those kind of things. And then pretty soon it's like, okay, I'm ready for sunshine, but
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. Well, let's get awkward, Katie. What is your
All right.
awkward thing that it makes you awesome?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of awkward things about me, to be honest. But
Hmm.
the one I'd like to share today is around my professional journey. And I can share about that journey, but it's something that I used to try to hold back in sharing because I didn't think it made me look as established or professional as I wanted to be.
Oh,
But what
sure.
I've learned is that not just embracing it and owning it, but sharing it
Mm.
is empowering to others and it feels more authentic to myself as well. So that would be the awkward that I'm leaning into and
I
has made
love
a difference
that.
in my
So
life.
now I'm curious, what is it that had you kind of holding back on it?
Yeah. So Starting off early in my life, I went to four different colleges in 5 years.
Hmm.
And so the idea of like, having being the transfer student, right?
Right.
And not having a path, right? That was
Hmm.
something I was a bit ashamed of, to be honest,
Sure.
and not having direction. And then upon graduating, also not having direction.
Mm-hmm.
It, and then I also, early in my career, I previously was a graphic designer and self-employed through that.
Okay.
And to be completely frank, I did not make a lot of money. I did not have a lot of success in this
Hmm.
role, in this career. But then when people would ask, how's work going? Oh, it's so good. I'm so busy
Oh,
and I've
right.
got this awesome project and that thing going on, and feeling really artificial
Hmm.
in being in talking about what is the reality of
Right.
the work, right? And in reality, my biggest client was a plumbing company, and I was making flyers about garbage
Oh,
disposals,
right.
right?
Not the dream projects you wanted to work on.
Exactly, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so it felt that again, it felt a bit like I was ashamed
Hmm.
of it, because it was not the what I wanted for myself, the vision I had for myself, and also it didn't feel like it matched the expectations of
Okay.
the people around me or how I grew up. And
Sure.
so, I was really holding all of that back.
Mm.
Um, and then um, I had that role, and I clearly I was not particularly happy with it.
Hmm.
Um, and then I had my first kid,
Okay.
and in having a son and having a little baby and realizing too, okay, I never intended to be a stay-at-home mom. That was not something I had wanted in my life.
Hmm.
Um, it's great for a lot of people, and it was something I knew wasn't going to be great for me.
Right.
Um, but then it became, oh, in this job that I have, I won't be making enough money to be able to
Mm.
afford childcare.
Oh, yeah.
And so I tried to keep a little bit of my work coming in while he was napping,
Hmm.
or, grandma could babysit a little bit here and there. And we did have some part-time help, but um, never enough to break even on that.
Yeah.
And so, out of necessity, really, I became a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And again, it didn't meet the expectation I had for myself.
Sure.
Um, and again, it felt a bit like there's a bit of this feeling of being a failure
Hmm.
because I was not successful enough in my job to be able to afford childcare.
Mm.
Um, so having to live with that was really difficult. And then also being a stay-at-home mom is really difficult
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So it was really compacted. So where that led me was both a combination of feeling like this failure because my business, my work in graphic design never took off enough that I could be successful.
Hmm.
And then also feeling really directionless again in my
Right.
life,
The
right? When
theme,
so
right?
much a theme, exactly. There is a theme here.
Yeah.
So what I did was I found a career coach,
Okay.
and working with her changed my life.
Mm.
Um, Both it helped me grasp and grapple with all of these feelings I've been having and be able to work through them. And then also, I decided that I really love the work that she was doing. And so I decided to become a coach myself.
Gotcha. So that's how you got into
And
coaching.
that's how I got into coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
Uh,
that just, I'm having this huge aha moment about what I know about you now because you're so good with what you do in the coaching field and in the direction of Harborbridge and how you work with people. You're so clear. You actually, one of the things that I felt working with you and Anna is that you guys have so much direction and so much
Mhm.
clarity. And I feel like that stems from having a life of not having had, like, it has, like, your journey has to have made it so much clearer for you now that that has to lean into why you're so good at what you do.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, there's having that direction, having that clarity. Um,
Mhm.
Having had no direction and no clarity for about 15 years, it has made it even more important and made it more clear to me that in order to be successful, we have to have that clarity.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, do
Hmm.
you remember when you were in those times of lack of direction, whether it's, through college or while the business isn't going so well, or while you're there with your little one going, obviously you love your kid, but this isn't the plan to be in the, staying home with them. Like, how did that, what feelings were you sitting with in that space?
Oh gosh, what feelings was I not sitting with?
That's probably a better, yeah. What wasn't there?
Um, oh gosh. I felt shame
Mm,
when I would be talking with friends and family and hearing their successes, and feeling like, oh, I'm not, I'm not meeting my potential, right?
yeah.
Um, I felt inauthentic because
Mm,
I wasn't owning that experience. I wasn't owning my realities, and I was either glossing over or flat out lying
hmm
about it. Um, mm, I also felt a bit of that, like, if I'm not going to be perfect, or if I'm not going to be the vision I have for myself or successful enough or whatever that is, why try?
mm,
And
yeah.
that was really defeating.
Yeah. That's a
Hmm.
tough one to hear, because I feel like that is the space so many people are in. If I'm not here, if I'm not at this level, then
Hmm.
why even put in any effort? And
Yeah.
it's so self-defeating because we won't get to the level that we want to get to if we don't try. Yet entrepreneurship is not an easy road, and when you need the money to come in, when it's not a, oh, I retired and then I decided to start this business, or I have a partner whose bills cover or income covers everything that we need and I have the luxury to just see if this works. uh we don't have, we have to make it happen.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And it took a lot of, it was really working with my coach, a lot of
Hmm
soul searching, a lot of confidence building,
hmm
in order to really build that drive
yeah.
to get through that, get power through all of those barriers that those self-limiting beliefs
hmm
that had been holding me back.
right.
Hmm.
So what led the decision for you to meet with a coach?
Yeah, I had a friend who had worked with this particular coach before, and I I wish I could say there was a moment or there was something, but I think I was just slowly starting to realize that the life I had was not the life I wanted.
Mm,
What was really hard too was so many people were saying, "Gosh, you're so lucky to be able to stay at home with your kid. I
hmm
really wish I was able to stay at home. Aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky? Or what a gift." And so I had
yeah.
this internal monologue of, "Oh my gosh, I should feel lucky. I should feel like this is a gift, but I'm so unhappy."
Yeah.
Right.
hmm
And so I knew I needed to talk to somebody who was not in my world.
Yeah.
Um, and not, I think therapy is really wonderful. But I needed someone who I could work with at like with more of a professional lens
Sure.
rather than just an interpersonal
Hmm. Yeah,
space.
there's two different scopes for obviously
Mhm,
as you know, for coaching and therapy where, if you have some issues that are holding you back that you can't take action, therapy's great and it's not an either or situation either. Um,
exactly.
if we're working on a strategic plan, that's more where coaching, at least that's the way I describe it to people. I'm like, if we're working on strategy, habits, things like that, which you may touch on with your therapist in different ways, but it's a
hmm
different approach and
hmm
a
hmm
different outcome that you're focused on.
exactly. So I thought, all right, what do I have to lose?
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
And so having that person who both was objective and not in my world, so to speak, and
Right.
invested in that way, um, and also professionally trained as
Right.
well, and
Yeah.
had the knowledge of how to help someone
Hmm.
um, in through these times and in these situations. It just made the world of difference, and I would not be where I am today without Grace
Wow.
Turkis. So thank you,
All right.
Grace.
I love that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Christ. I love
Yeah.
that. And one thing that you said there that just really resonated, because I remember when I had kids very young, and my who became my future ex-wife stayed home with our kids, and people would always say that same thing. You're so lucky that your wife is home with the kids, and two things come to mind in that because one is. I remember always saying that, yes, I know, I feel so great, and then feeling a little bit ungrateful because I didn't feel lucky. Because
Mm-hmm.
at one point I remember saying, I feel very fortunate that we're in this situation, but there are a lot of sacrifices that we make and don't have and scrape by to make that happen because it was that situation of if she were working, she wouldn't even make enough or would barely make enough to cover child care. So and that was what, she wanted to do. So that was a different situation. But
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
like, it's really not luck. This isn't like I woke up one day and had $1 million in the bank and we can just live whatever life we want. This is, always buying older cars, having, every time we got a tax return, it was paying off fixing some car that just broke down. There were so many things where I remember feeling behind in so many ways. And then when the world's telling you you should be lucky and you should feel good for what you have, it really does make you feel unappreciative.
Yeah, or it makes you question yourself too and think,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, do I have a negative outlook on my life?
Right.
I should be feeling lucky, but really I'm feeling burdened,
Hmm.
or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or all of those other
Right.
pieces that don't go in the lucky bucket.
Hmm. But I really admire that you recognized that that dream wasn't for you, that wasn't the life you were trying to build. And I think too often we accept other people's ideas of what should be our fortune and our dream, and that's where so many people have this. Um, they're not content because we're
Mhm.
believing everything around us of what we should want. And I mean, I look at things like people going to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning and having the perfect body, and I'm like, well, yeah, I want to look great and I want to feel good and I want to be healthy, but not like to that level is not for me. Going for a walk
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
afternoon as often as I can, that's the level of, and maybe pushing it a little bit more. But I had to actually have that real realization that I'm not going to get a six pack going for a walk in the afternoon at 2 o'clock every day. However, that fits into my idea of what I want for life.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And being intentional and choosing rather than letting things happen to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you get with a coach, you're making changes, you're figuring out some direction. Do you remember, was there a moment where you said, now I see where I want to go, or now I see what I want to do? You said that you found that you really liked the work they were doing. Do you remember that moment where you felt like you had the direction?
Um, yeah, she had me do an exercise where it was something around basically brainstorming without limits,
Mm,
of different career paths. And um, I remember just feeling like, okay, coach is like being a coach is something I could see myself doing this work. And then there's that like little part of your brain that's saying, oh, but is it going to be, are you going to find success, or are you going to just end up where you are again, where you're
right.
not making enough income to be able to afford childcare, you know, but what I came to is feeling like this is still something I need to pursue.
Yeah.
And I need to at least try.
Hmm.
And again, I'll be honest and frank, and it hasn't been a smooth road
Right.
either, from as far as professionally goes, and building the career I have
Hmm.
today. It wasn't like a speedy path or clear path, once I had even decided to become a coach. But at the same time, I feel really, really fortunate to be where I am and to have that clarity, and know that what obstacles that I will face, because that's reality, right?
Right.
Um, that I have the tools in my toolkit, and I have the um, mindsets to be able to face those obstacles.
Right. And that's such a huge mindset shift to move away from the idea of am I prepared for every single thing that could ever come my way? And do I know how to handle all these things? And switch from that kind of anxious idea of over preparing for anything that could ever come towards us
Mhm,
to a mindset of I have the tools, I have the preparation, whatever comes my way, I have the ability to figure out how to handle,
mhm,
whether I've
mhm,
already handled it or not. And that's such a freeing thought because then you can look ahead and say, I know stuff's going to still come at me. I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't have to because I know I have the faith in myself and the resources around me, the people to pull from, and the
mhm,
experience to take whatever's coming at me.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Own Your Awkward Academy, a school of personal mastery for people who are done overthinking their lives and ready to actually live them. The Academy is where self awareness meets real world action. No toxic positivity, no pretending you're confident before you are. Just practical tools to help you quiet the noise in your head, trust yourself again, and show up as who you actually are. If you're tired of feeling stuck in your own thoughts and ready to build a life that feels more aligned and less exhausting, you can learn more at awkwardcareer.com/academy. Now let's get back to today's episode.
Yeah. Now, I want to get into the coaching side a bit because um, you now have a powerhouse of a business. And I know you said how it hasn't been a smooth road and it's not like you go, okay, I was a graphic designer, that wasn't working out. I didn't feel like I had direction in college. Now I'm going to be a coach and look at this. It's completely smooth sailing. How was that approach the next time now you're in a different business and to not, because there are going to be those times where it's not happening the way. What was the difference that made you able to weather those storms and grow?
Yeah, I would say a big part of it was, some of the self-growth I had had
Mhm.
during all of that. The lessons I learned in being a mom.
Yeah.
That was it still is, a huge area of learning about myself and learning what I am capable of. Um,
Hmm.
and also feeling like the work I'm doing is making a difference. And I need to keep doing that in order to continue making a difference. If I want to be of service, if I
Yeah.
want to make an impact, um, I need to keep pushing through and keep working at this, because if I don't try, again, it's like that, the mindset that I had before of like, if I'm not going to be perfect, then why try? Right.
Oh, right.
I think the change happened. I'm just making this connection right now, so it might be a little muddled in how I explain this, but the change became, if I don't try, I'm not going to
Oh,
succeed.
Exactly. I see that.
And
Yeah.
so that shift from, you're not going to get here without trying,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas before I thought, well, if I'm not already here, or if I'm never going to get here, why even bother?
Right.
Hmm.
I love that. And it's such a difference because you're right. It's not it shifts your mind from this isn't happening, you know, it's a from a black or white resolution of either this is happening or it's not to
Hmm.
what can I do to get there? And who
Hmm.
knows, had you had the coaching earlier, you may have been different in the design space.
Totally.
But
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
also you still may not have, you never know, you may not have been as fulfilled with the work with what you're
Yeah.
doing.
And it's really interesting too, because now in being a business owner, I still get to tap into a lot of those design
Right.
skills, which is fun and I enjoy it.
Hmm.
And it's fun to just flex those muscles every once in a while, but
Right.
doing it for clients.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a little bit nicer that I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you're not at the mercy of what someone else thinks the design should look like. And
Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
started my career in the bakery in grocery and
Oh, cool.
learned very quickly how I don't want to say sensitive, but how personal people doing creative work, the output that they're doing is very personal to them. So
Hmm.
when it's rejected, it cannot always come across, it can be taken very personally of because we had cake decorators who, think they interpret the way they want someone's cake to look like, and someone walks up and they think, "You ruined my kid's graduation party with this ugly cake. Like, what did you do?" And they're like, "I thought that's what you wanted." And they weren't personally trying to make it bad, but they felt like they were putting a really good work into it. And not that every cake we put out was ugly, but the idea of what we think is what someone wants isn't always what they want. And
Hmm.
in creative type work with design and anything where you are using your creative side, you're pouring your heart and soul into it. So it can not feel good when people don't want it that way.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also this, one of the things that I was finding a lot, and again, this was, when I was starting to phase out, was um, a feeling of being belittled,
Mm.
in
Okay.
that I would be putting out my work and then a lot of, and uh, different times, different people and all of that,
Sure.
but having responses of, well, this isn't good enough, or this isn't what I had in mind, or whatever it is, I could do better than this.
Oh, wow.
And so and then I felt like, okay, if that's how you think, then just tell me what you want and I'll do it. Right.
Hmm.
And it felt a bit like they weren't seeing that I had 10 years of experience and that I
Right.
had, a training and all of that. And they
Hmm.
thought they were better than me,
Right.
essentially. And so
Yeah.
that really became internalized messaging as well.
Yeah, that
Um,
would be really hard to not internalize, especially when it's it's the opposite of the attitude that is, "Hey, we're bringing you in as the expert
yeah.
to help us with our look and presentation and design. Let's take your guidance. Here's an idea of what our brand and what we're about so that you fit
Hmm.
into that we relay the right message, but you're the expert in that segment of their business."
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So all of those things combined, that's why when I had my son, it was very difficult to consider going back
Yeah,
into that work.
I
Hmm.
can see that. One thing that you started out with saying was how you have shied away traditionally of talking about the journey and how you not only didn't didn't share it, but you kind of hid it. And yet, to me, when I hear a story like this, it makes you so much more of a powerful coach because I hear the road that you've taken, the lessons that you've had along the way, and I think that's someone who can help me because Katie's going to understand that when I'm sitting here going, "Man, people are asking how it's going," and I'm like, "Yay, life is great." And yet I'm going, "But I don't have this gig and that gig," and I'm beating myself up over all these
Mhm.
these goals that I'm not hitting. And if I have a coach who I'm looking at hiring and they're like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I got out of school, I took this course, I had my master's, and I've never had a problem in my life." It's like, how are you going to relate and how are you going to help me get through the hurdles that I'm facing if you haven't done those and overcome things yourself?
Yeah, and that's exactly too where I've leaned into that in order to make that, like, as you speak of your superpower, right?
Hmm.
And owning it has
Yeah.
made me, um, I've been able to relate to different people in different ways. The work that Anna and I are doing, I'm able to think about, what does a career pause look like for somebody?
Yeah.
And what are the challenges in coming back to that? What's the training that people need in order to feel empowered to have a career transition?
Right.
So all of those pieces, I wouldn't necessarily have quite the insider knowledge, you could
Hmm.
say, or
Sure.
the same level of empathy as
Yeah.
well.
And now that as you share that part, it makes me think about how sharing your message is also an integral part of attracting the right clientele that
Hmm.
is going to relate to your experience that you can help the most. Because um, have you noticed a shift in the people that you attract when you share your story?
Um, I don't know so much as if it attracts a different type of person,
Hmm.
but I think people, regardless of what their professional path has been, appreciate the honesty
Yeah.
and appreciate mm, the authenticity and vulnerability in
Yeah.
sharing it. And I feel like if I, as a coach, can model that, it helps other people feel safer to be vulnerable
Definitely.
and safer to feel authentic and
Yeah.
own the things that they might be holding back.
Hmm. And a coach relationship is a very personal relationship. So there has to be trust, and you have to be able to, feel that if your coach, if you feel that they're being inauthentic, that's just going to break down the trust, and that's going to get in the way of our own personal growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say when I first started coaching, I worked with through certification, worked with a different coach, and one of the things I really had to work on was how do I, like, feeling confident enough to introduce myself as a coach and feeling confident to share
Mm,
my, professional history in a way that felt um, still professionally polished or
right.
professionally successful and all of that. And looking back, I think at one of the things that was making that such a struggle is because I was being inauthentic about it. Because I
Mm,
was trying to show, oh, I've been so successful in this past career,
right.
but really being more authentic and sharing, oh, this was a moment of failure for myself, and failure isn't an F word,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And being honest about that
Yeah,
actually makes me more powerful.
exactly. And
Mhm.
it's that being honest in that moment in a way that is confident. That's
Mhm.
where the
Mhm.
power comes in. It's not, well, I got started and I didn't, I was kind of thinking I do this coach thing, but to be honest with you, here's all my failings that I'm feeling,
Mhm.
and yet to say, life wasn't going the way I wanted and I made this decision and realization, took these steps, and now I'm empowering other people.
Mhm.
It's a much different, it's going to be accepted much differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
one thing I think that is, I had this conversation. I was doing a workshop with entrepreneurs this week, and we were talking about how we tell our stories in a way that helps sell our business and grow
Mhm.
sales. And I asked everybody, how long have you been in the business of what you're doing, or tell me I think the way I phrased it was, tell me, the start of your journey in your business. And everyone starts saying, well, I got started about 2 months ago, or I'm just getting going, or I started doing this about a year ago. And I said, well, one person in the room was an accountant. And I said, well, when did you start liking math? Or when did you first realize that that was important? It's like, oh my gosh, I've always loved math since I was in, first grade and we would count with fake coins. And I said, that is the start of your business. Like we
Yeah.
need to tell the story of our business all the way from the beginning because we're we're first of all we're not giving ourselves credit for all of the experience we have in the area that we're working. So all
Hmm.
of that experience from before you ever decided to become a coach and get trained on becoming a coach is part of what you're bringing to the table when you're working with people. It's like because you've owned a business, because you experienced different schools and had that lack of direction or feeling of lack of direction that you can now help people find direction. And so that story of when you became a coach doesn't start with, after your son was born.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, it also it gives you credit for all of that experience getting
Hmm.
up to it of,
Hmm.
what I've been like with the accountant. It's like I've been doing math for 30 years. Yeah, I just started my business, but I've been practicing in concepts and I've been seeing where other people are having setbacks because of bad math,
Hmm.
since however long ago. And but we don't give ourselves credit for our whole journey when we make career shifts or when we start a business. And yet that's what people are looking for, and that's what has them realize that they're going to buy from us or they're going to rely on us for support because they're like, oh man, this guy knows what he's doing because he's been doing it his whole life.
Yeah, yeah. And it's when we look at career transitions or starting a new entrepreneurship venture, any of that, there's so much talk about transferable skills.
Right.
Right? Like that's such a huge element of it. And it goes beyond that. And that's part of that story. And that's, what are the strengths that are coming from your story, that are coming from your previous experiences, both
Hmm.
professional and in your own personal life?
Right.
What are the strengths that you uniquely bring to an opportunity?
Hmm.
And, there are going to be other candidates who have the same training and transferable skills as you, but what is it that makes you you
Yeah.
that doesn't show up on a resume?
Hmm. Right. I was just talking with somebody about this with their LinkedIn profile and that, you've got all your experience down below that kind of can read like your resume, but then you have that intro area and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what makes you different? What is it? Just exactly like what you said. Like, how do you do the job? How do you show up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is the place where you can say something a little bit quirky or funny or add like, I also like to on the weekends I'm climbing mountains, whatever that thing is. It gives them a slice of
Mm-hmm.
how you might show up to the company or to the organization in a way that adds to the overall culture or
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to use the word fitting in, but how do you either add to that dynamic of what's going on in this workspace? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I my husband is really into Ghostbusters and collectibles and
Okay.
all of that. And I remember telling him once, because he has all of it, in the background of his Zoom, and I said, oh, it's really distracting for people if you have all of
Mhm.
this. And he
Uh-huh.
said, no, this is what makes me me, right? This,
Yeah.
people are always asking questions about it, and it's a great conversation starter, and it's a part of who I am. So why do
Hmm.
I blur my background?
Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciate that we're not in that stuffy over professional space that we were, 20 years ago where
Hmm.
you would have to, and part of it is I wonder sometimes, is that a whole culture shift or is that me growing and being, just older and not caring as much about that? And maybe 20-year-old me, or actually I guess 20 years ago, I hate to say 30-year-old me, would be would be showing up saying, oh no, you gotta wear, you gotta dress a certain way and you can't have anything in the background. I was looking at this picture one time of a Zoom. This is really recently, and are you familiar with Alex Hermosi? Uh,
Mm-mm.
he's huge in the entrepreneurship world. He's written a lot of, he's written a book called The $100 million offer, and he's always getting in kind of one of those in your face kind of entrepreneurs. Like you got to do this and this, but just really high energy. But I saw this snapshot of a Zoom that he was on, and he has made most of his money in the fitness space. So he's wearing just a white undershirt tank top in this
Mm-hmm.
video, and and he's given this pitch, and I'm looking at the people on the call. And there's people, dressed like I am with a polo shirt, and you are professional looking, and but not over the top. And then there's this one
Hmm.
guy who looks like he's like maybe in like junior achievement in high school, and he's wearing a full suit and tie. And I thought it was an interesting snapshot of knowing that Alex is the most senior guy on this call, and probably the least senior person is dressed the fanciest. And that idea that you just show up how you are, and the more experience you have, the less you worry about how you're showing up, and more just showing up as yourselves. And
Hmm. Hmm.
and there are times where it is more and less appropriate on, you don't want to show up just in a tank top when you're, looking for a job or when you're not the one
Hmm.
running the
Hmm.
company. But it was really just this almost social observation of how we show up in the world and how we feel like we need to show up in the world.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And how do we, when you are more yourself, when you are comfortable in your own skin or in your own
yeah,
white t-shirt, that's going to translate into how you show up to others.
right. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. The people feed off that energy,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us all about Harbor Bridge. I know a bit about it, but I'm going to pretend like I know nothing about Harbor Bridge so that we don't leave anything that should be shared.
Sure, yeah. So Harborbridge is a company where we do leadership and workforce development for individuals and organizations. We're based out of the Puget Sound area, so Greater Seattle, South Puget Sound, Tacoma. And our story is actually that so the we of Harborbridge is actually my sister, Anna, and we founded Harborbridge to, I would say we started it as a way of kind of filling in the gaps that we saw in this training and coaching world. So I have my background in both coaching, and then we already talked about my long background as well.
Hmm.
And then Anna's background is in corporate leadership. And so we realized if we join forces and bring our two skill sets together, we can offer organizations and individuals a unique lens.
Hmm.
And through the development of Harborbridge, we have grown to before it was just the two of us as owner operators. And now we've grown to having about 16 different coaches and facilitators working with us on various accounts. And Andy, you're one of our wonderful coaches. We're so
It's been a
grateful to
pleasure.
have you. Yeah. And yeah, so we work with leadership, we work with teams, we work with people in career development. And I would say to sum it all up, for our vision for the work that we do, we want to make an impact in both the organization's success and in the lives of the people that are making the organization who it is.
I love that. And I have been very impressed in the last year or so that we've been working together. I want to say, so I think I met Anna a year ago. First of all, I did not know you guys were sisters, so
Oh,
I'm
really? Yeah.
continuing to learn. That's awesome. I mean, you guys work very well together, but it's always so, when you know somebody at a professional space, it just doesn't come up. And so it's just funny. But I always wondered how you guys met or how you got connected. And clearly, you've known each other a long time.
Yeah, yeah. It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
fun, I will say.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
awesome. That's a whole dynamic too of working with family and people, like even with friends, like as you bring a business together, it's a relationship dynamic that changes. Um,
Hmm.
whole nother path there. However, uh, I have been just continually impressed from the very beginning of how how well you guys have had everything. Like, so we've partnered on this town transit program, or
Mhm.
you guys have that program and brought me in as one of your partner coaches, which I've been so appreciative of. But the level of there hasn't been a T that's needed to be crossed or a I that's needed to be dotted that you guys haven't already either been ahead of, or as soon as you something has been, oh, this little thing has come up or would be nice, you like instantly you guys are on it. And it's just such a
Mhm.
great reflection of the service level that you guys are dedicating to providing for your clients. Of if there's something else that's going to make the recipients of the coaching, shine even more, that they're going to get better development and results, and that the company is going to have good overall administration of the program. I've continued to be impressed. So,
Well, thank you. That means a lot. It's definitely something that we work hard at and something we want to make sure is, we have our level of excellence that we
Hmm.
and our expectations. And that's definitely a part of it is making sure that the experience is that the experience is going to be really geared towards, we try to think of if we're in somebody else's shoes, like how can we support the different problems that are going to occur, right? Because that's how
right.
life is, in order to elevate the work so
Yeah.
that, I like personally, I kind of geek out a little bit on, organizing files or making sure as coaches you have everything you need to be successful and
Hmm.
perhaps over communicating. But I'm a big believer in that if people have everything they need, if they have all the supplies they need or all of the communication support they need, it allows them to do their best work
Yeah.
rather than having to do quite so much administrative tasks.
Definitely. And everybody has a little different style. And what I love is that you have kind of options for,
Mm.
here's access to as much as you can see as far as what our coaching clients might be able to access that we can let them know about. And
Mhm.
here's one list of that. And here's a list of, we've got just some rolling documents that we all add um, resources into, and
Mhm.
it's very helpful because there was one point where I needed something, and I remember going, I know this is in the folder. I just need to, and it was right there, but it was just kind of it was like one step of the way. Like I think it was one of my early uh, sessions where it was my first client that was finishing, and they have the uh, the the exit interview
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
survey, and I thought, oh, I know it's right here, and sure enough, it was right there in the protocol of workflow. And it's so laid out so well because you're managing two pieces. One is making sure that the people receiving coaching have a really solid experience and
Mhm.
have growth,
Mhm.
and then you're also managing that the program overall for the 16 coaches you're working with and for the organization that you're servicing, that they have what they need. And
Mhm. Mhm.
those are three different pieces of the business, let alone running the business behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. And something we also really want to be mindful of is, what is the reality of the person that we're working with? What's their stake? What is
Mhm.
their bandwidth for, the stakeholder that we're working with an
Right.
organization too?
Yeah.
And, how can we best support them?
Hmm.
Right? They have their goals they need to meet. They have their thousand meetings that they're trying to
Right.
manage on their calendar and all of that. So
Hmm.
what can we do um to lift them up or to help them so that they can be more successful in the
Right.
role or in the program that they're trying to promote.
Yeah. And with the scale of organizations that you are supporting, I know just in the one program that I'm involved in, and I know this is duplicated over other organizations, the similar aspects, I would imagine, where you have such a wide range in roles that are
Hmm.
using the program. So that that changes the dynamic on where people are looking to go. And with coaching, we're always just, essentially to make it to really simplify it, it's we're getting from here to here. Like if you're
Hmm.
if you're feeling like, your satisfaction level is a 6, we want to get you to an 8, or, like, how can we move you up a little bit, take a couple steps up? And so that process, in a very simplified manner, isn't that much different, although people are coming in at all different levels and with a different desire of where they're wanting to get to,
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
their view of success.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, so how has the Harborbridge journey been? Are there like what are the for people who are listening, if they're like, man, this sounds great, I should bring them in either for my organization or for myself. Uh, how do they best connect with you guys? What's an ideal client, or who would be a good fit to work with you guys?
Yeah, we've worked with private sector, with public sector, with individual people as well.
Mhm.
And, of course, go to our website,
Right.
harborbridgeleadership.com. Um, and, I think so some of the services we offer are course coaching, one-on-one, team coaching, and then also training. So we have different training programs in professional development, leadership development, and then also we do customized training as well for both individuals and cohorts.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Okay. Lots of opportunities to grow, and all around, just growing yourself professionally and
Hmm.
moving
Hmm.
life forward. Now,
Yeah,
I just have to ask, did you design the logo? Because I love the logo.
of course, of course.
I always have loved your logo, but I did not know that you had a background in design, so that makes
Yeah,
total sense.
yeah. So it's been fun to be able to flex those design muscles, and we make all of our training workbooks. So we get, we're really, again, because I love to over communicate and I like to make sure people have all the resources
Hmm.
they need. We make training workbooks. And so it has all the resources and it has, reflection questions and everything someone will need to be able to reference the material later.
Right.
And so with the design skills, it's fun to be able to, do all my little design magic and make it look good, not
Yeah.
just informational.
Yeah, and I find, at least with my business, there are some some things that I get to do that are not coaching or not speaking or
Hmm.
not, following up on a sales lead, that are more playful.
Hmm.
And I like doing those tasks because it's a break from the grind type of work, but it is still productive. So I feel like, okay, I'm still at least doing some stuff that needs to be done for my business, but it is a little bit more of a break from the pressure of, oh, I've got to get this proposal put together,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
whatever follow-up needs to be done. And so sometimes that's the work I'm doing at 11 o'clock at night, where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna make a new t-shirt for my merch store, or I'm gonna create, a poster for something coming up. And so it can be a nice break.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also, for me, at least personally, having that variety keeps
Hmm.
me more engaged because
Yeah.
if I'm doing the same thing every single day, I'm going to get bored.
Yeah.
Uh,
Same
so
here.
that's a more personal
Hmm.
note, but yeah.
Okay. Well, before we go, just one last thing, not to go deep, but what would you say to people who are living in that space without direction, and how do they lean into that and find where they want to go?
Yeah. First thing I would say is you're not alone.
Mm,
Um, that you're not a failure just because you're not where you wish you would be.
hmm.
Um, I would say that you think of that quote, not all that wander are lost, and that this might be a season of wandering.
Mm,
Um, and you'll find a path. It might not be the path that you intended on, it might not be a path that you even know exists, but keep wandering. Don't just sit and wait. You have to keep moving and explore and be willing to try and be willing to stumble. until you find that path.
That's powerful. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that visual. The fact that you mention that you might not know where the path is, or you might not have seen it. It may just show up, but if you're not moving, you're not going to find it. That's
Hmm.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
a big believer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's all. I was just going to say too often, I
Oh.
think we are searching for the path and we think we know where it's going to be versus just being open to seeing what shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. If you have a vision of, it doesn't have to be a clear vision of what
Hmm.
you want, but you're going to see opportunities if you're looking for opportunities. But if you're not open and if you're not clear, then it's going to be harder to see where opportunities exist.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, that's a lesson I've learned the hard way over the years myself.
mhm.
Yeah. Wow, Katie, this has been so powerful. I really appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate being part of the Harborbridge program and partnership. Is there anything before we go that you feel like we haven't touched on that we just got to get out to the world?
Oh, I do have one thing. I promised my kiddos that I would give them a shout out. So,
Awesome. Let's do
um,
it.
thank you, Ollie and Simon. Without you, I would not be doing the work I do today. And they're also yes, they're very excited to be mentioned on a YouTube
Awesome.
channel
Ollie and
and on a
Simon. All
podcast. So,
right. You guys are
yes,
making it happen for mom. So
yes.
I love that. That is so cool. We will make sure that they get their appropriate shout out. So that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to know that the kids are still excited about things like this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's I'm still at the stage. I saw something recently that was like, right now what was it like? Something about you can't go to the bathroom alone, but then
Oh,
in 10 years you're going to be like begging for a hug.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That
Uh-huh.
that is, yeah, my youngest, I have a 23, a 27, a 28-year-old, and it's just I've told people so many times that there were stages when the kids were little that I I feel bad. I barely remember because it was like sleepwalking through parts of their life where it's like working full time with three young kids and all the things going on, and it's just like I wish it was, oh, I was so well rested and life was just perfectly put together, but I felt like I was scrambling to keep up all the time. And yet sometimes I'm like, man, I miss those days where it's like, oh, like we were all living, like the kids didn't have jobs, they weren't gone, so we're all, living in the same schedule and time as much, they get home from what they're doing and we're having dinner together. It's like, oh, they don't tell you how quickly that goes once they start, even like getting 14 or 15 where they're going to friends' house. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm glad that you gave Ollie and Simon some attention and a shout out because they without them giving you the chance to do what you do, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, Katie, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today and sharing and being vulnerable and sharing your whole journey because it is powerful and it is what makes you so powerful in what you're doing. So thank you so very much.
Well, thank you for having me, Andy.
All right. Everybody else, go out there, check out harborbridgeleadership.com. Check out all the programs they have for your organization or for yourself personally. And of course, own your awkward. Thank you so much for listening in for today's show. Be sure to visit awkwardcareer.com to continue your journey. And of course, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends so they can find their awkward side and learn how to own it.